I'm Elizabeth Warren, Chair of the Congressional Oversight Panel. I'm here to introduce our October report, an assessment of foreclosure mitigation efforts after 6 months. The panel first examined mortgage foreclosures back in March. We found a crisis reaching critical proportions. Foreclosures had skyrocketed, housing prices were plunging, and millions more Americans were on the brink of losing their homes. The problem was so pervasive and far-reaching that its fallout threatened to spill over from the housing sector, dragging down the entire economy. Since then, the picture's gotten worse. Foreclosure rates have now quadrupled from their historic averages. 1 in 8 mortgages is now in foreclosure or default. And the predictions are even worse. Before this crisis is over, experts estimate that we could be facing 10 to 12 million foreclosures. Now, this crisis affects us all. Foreclosures are painful for the families who lose their homes and the children who are uprooted from their schools and neighborhoods. But that's not all. It affects other homeowners and even those who don't own homes. Foreclosures drive down the value of neighboring homes, on average by nearly $5,000. Vacant houses undermine communities. A depressed housing market costs jobs in construction and related industries like furniture and hardware stores. Foreclosures are even hard on the investors who foreclose. On average, every foreclosure costs the lender about $120,000. And let's not forget that with Fannie, Freddie, the FHA, and all the other programs, ultimately, the American taxpayer will be forced to stand behind many of these foreclosed mortgages. Because housing is such a huge and interwoven part of the American economy, the cumulative effect of these losses threatens everyone's economic well-being. Now, since the panel's March report, Treasury has unveiled a program called Making Home Affordable, its most expansive effort to date to combat these foreclosures. The program includes 2 primary initiatives. The Home Affordable Refinance Program, or HARP, is aimed at helping homeowners, including those who are current on their payments, refinance into more stable, more affordable mortgages. The larger Home Affordable Modification Program, or HAMP, aims to reduce mortgage payments to help borrowers stay in their homes. These programs are in their early stages, and it remains to be seen what kind of effect they will have on families, on the housing market, and on the larger economy. There is no question that some homeowners have been spared foreclosure, at least temporarily, by mortgage modifications. And if HAMP succeeds in reducing foreclosures, it should prevent losses for investors, ultimately helping taxpayers gain better returns on all of Treasury's programs. But the panel has 3 major concerns about Treasury's approach. First is the problem of scope. Because of the way HAMP is set up, it only helps certain kinds of borrowers. For example, it can be very helpful to subprime borrowers who are paying a high interest rate. But it isn't designed to address other foreclosures, such as those caused by unemployment, which now appears to be one of the biggest drivers of foreclosure. In this sense, HAMP appears to be targeted at the housing crisis as it existed 6 months ago, rather than as it exists right now. The second problem is scale. So many mortgages are falling into foreclosure so fast that there is reason for concern about whether Treasury can keep up. In August, over 220,000 mortgages entered foreclosure, but HAMP began preliminary modifications on only 95,000 mortgages. Even when the program is fully operational, foreclosures are estimated to outpace modifications by about 2 to 1. It simply isn't clear that HAMP's scale is broad enough and that its implementation is fast enough to tame the crisis and to have a significant impact on the broader economy. Now, the final problem is one of permanence. Are we solving the foreclosure problem, or are we just dragging it out? For many borrowers, the modifications will lower payments, but only for 5 years. After that, payments will rise. A borrower whose loan is modified by HAMP today still faces a significant risk that they will fall behind again in the future. If that borrower eventually loses the house to foreclosure, then the modification program was only a delay, not a solution. HAMP's effectiveness also depends on future home prices. If prices continue to drop, experts estimate that 1/2 of all mortgages will be larger than the value of the homes they secure. This so-called negative equity, owing more on the house than it's worth, increases the risk that if a homeowner loses his job or gets a new job or gets married or divorced or needs to move for some other reason, he may just walk away from his home and from that oversized mortgage. If nothing is done about this problem, falling home prices could lead to instability in the housing market, not just for another few months, but for years to come. The Oversight Panel has made a number of specific recommendations about the HAMP program, all with the aim of trying to make it better. But we also offer a warning that the crisis continues to deepen and the effectiveness of these programs remains doubtful. The limited scope, the inability to scale the program up quickly enough to match the magnitude of the problem, and the growing concern that modifications may not provide permanent solutions leave us all deeply concerned. You can download the full report and you can offer your own views on our website, cop.senate.gov. The panel recognizes that the Making Home Affordable program is in its early stages, but rising unemployment, weak home prices, and impending mortgage rate resets threaten to cast millions of Americans out of their homes, with devastating effects on families, on local communities, and on the broader economy. We've reached the point where every single American has a personal stake in foreclosure mitigation.